So what's going on at Oklahoma State? What is happening in Stillwater? We will hear from two different analysts today. One, Barry Trammell, who writes for the Oklahoman, covers both OU and Oklahoma State, and also Robert Allen, sideline reporter for Oklahoma State at different times during the show today. We have discussed it. Spencer Sanders, among others, Dominic Richardson at Baylor, and then today, Paul Catalina, Derek Mason, their defensive coordinator, who was there for a year replacing Alex Grinch, who went to, not Alex Grinch, Jim Knowles, who went to Ohio State. He puts up this, that it's time for him to take a break.
Yeah, and I don't know if both of the situations that we're kind of diving into are totally related. Like, it would not surprise me to see, Derek Mason, who after, getting fired at Vanderbilt, being at Auburn, and then at Oklahoma State, like maybe just, felt the need to move on and take some time to himself. But I don't think it's beyond the realm to theorize that all these things are connected with how many starters they've lost in the portal, how many total players they've lost in the portal. That would be guys who maybe future starters just hadn't won those jobs yet after some graduation. The fact that, it just seems strange what's going on there. And look, I've been of the belief, for a while that, there are some coaches like Mike Gundy who is old fashioned in a lot of different ways. And I'm kind of putting it mildly there, but that the new era of college football may not just be for him. So he's probably not dealing with it as, the same way that everybody else is. And eventually he's just going to do something else or be somewhere else where maybe it's not as big of a deal with all the other things that have been added to college football, because he's made – how much money has Mike Gundy made? I mean, it's not like you would hope that Mike Gundy doesn't have to work year to year to keep refilling the coffers of his bank account, that he's not spending that much money. Like, you would think he didn't have to work if he didn't want to for the rest of his life as much as he's made at Oklahoma State. So, but maybe step away.
But at the same time, Craig, and Paul, is that it seemed like he was more at peace at about this time last year, despite the loss, or even before the loss to Baylor in the Big 12 championship. It seemed like he was at peace, and even what we were told was the perfect spine with the president, the AD, and Mike Gundy, like we've talked about with Baylor in that level or those levels. And yet here we are. I mean, Craig, your thoughts? And again, Derek Mason, it might be him just wanting to step away for a while.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, it was a tough year. He's been coaching for 30 consecutive seasons. So, I mean, maybe he just wants a break. I think that could very well be part of it. I know that it's just in our DNA these days to just automatically jump to the most negative outcome possible. So, Derek Mason must hate Mike Gundy, the ship's sinking and all of that. I mean, that still could be true, but I will give Derek Mason the benefit of the doubt that he's a grown man who can make his own decisions. And if he wants to take a break after 30 years of coaching, then I respect that. Having said that, if he had done this at any other school in America right now, I don't think anybody would really be blinking twice about it. But the fact that he's doing it at a place who's lost, close to 20 transfers, that's something that does make you raise your eyebrows a little bit, because it's not quite explainable right now of what exactly is going on. Is it true that Spencer Sanders wanted to come back and Mike Gundy basically told him no? Because that's the chatter out there, and Spencer Sanders is still sitting out there in the transfer portal, and we have no idea why. We have no idea if he's got some injury. We have no idea if just there's not interest, which is kind of surprising to me, because I'm sorry, I don't think that I see an entire nation's worth of quarterbacks that are better than Spencer Sanders, So that's bizarre to me. So I feel like there has to be some injury related. That's something that I haven't quite gotten a grasp of, but the number of guys that have entered the portal, to be fair, they just picked up Alan Bowman a couple of days ago. So you add him along with about 10 other guys that they've added in the transfer portal, because they're offsetting whatever the total number is at this point. That's one thing. I don't know if there's a chart out there for these college websites, 247 or any of the other ones, is there just a list of in and out? You got 11 incoming, 8 outgoing. I think that would be helpful rather than
On three does that.
Do they have that? Okay, good.
I think they have kind of that weighted that whatever that is. Yeah.
I just think it would be, rather than like combing through and going like, okay, he's in, he's out, he's in. It would just be nice to see just the whole number. So if that's out there, that's awesome. That's smart.
It's like a plus or minus turnover.
Yeah. So like if that's out there, that's great. So I don't know what the total is there for Oklahoma State at this point. I know there's more outgoing than there is incoming, and I know there's probably more to come. But I'm looking forward to talking to both those guys to try to get a better grasp of especially from Robert's point of view, exactly what's going on in Stillwater, because from the outside looking in, you do wonder, like I said yesterday, is this all setting up to be one of the great comebacks in college football, or I should say bounce back seasons? Even though they finished with 7 wins last year, like they made a bowl game. So like their terrible season, or whatever it feels like, was down from the year prior, much like Baylor's was. But, it's not as bad as it could have been. It wasn't like they only won a couple of games. So there's reason to believe you just retool this roster in this day and age, and the flips happen pretty quickly. And maybe that's what Mike Gundy's got up his sleeve. But without being able to see that for quite a while, and seeing some of the familiar names, the John Paul Richardson, Spencer Sanders, Dominic Richardson, those types of guys entering the portal, something's up, and I'm curious to know what it is.
Well, we're going to try to get it from a couple of different angles. Barry Trammell at 3:30, Robert Allen today just after 5. Brandon Marcello, and I know you guys Brandon Marcello put up earlier today, this is the Oklahoma State attrition. 19 players in the portal. Again, that doesn't show how many they've gotten back because they have made up ground on some of that. Now the defensive coordinator has walked away. That includes the starting quarterback, starting running back, starting cornerback, safety, their leading tackler, second leading receiver, second leading pass catcher. And oh, by the way, it's January 12th, and there might be maybe more.
Yeah, so, because it's about to close for a little bit until spring. So you might have the people who have kind of held out until they see what the situation is going to be and then bail. In On3's transfer portal team rankings right now, Oklahoma State is 56th. By the way, Alabama is 57th because they've only got 1 transfer in and 16 out. But officially 11 transfers in for Oklahoma State and officially 16 transfers out. So because some of these, I think they do these when On3's putting them in when like paperwork's filed, guys officially gone, all those things. But right now it's 19. So if you even add to that.
So is 56, is that a good number, or is that's okay?
I would
think not.
It's based on the teams in front of and like immediately behind them. Outside Alabama, it doesn't matter because they're Alabama, like that's kind of what they do. But the teams around them are Vanderbilt, Florida, West Virginia. Those are the teams right in front of them. So it's not good. It's not good. It's not a good thing. What's going on right now for them, because they don't also, like, outside of these rankings. We saw what happened when their roster was, ripped to the bone injury-wise this year. That was not a team that is exactly, overflowing with depth as far as like what they can see of who's going to take these spots. It was a weird situation that they had so many injuries, but man, I would be nerve-wracked if I was an Oklahoma State fan.
Well, there's something going on. Barry Trammell will give us his opinion. We'll also hear from Robert Allen, get his opinion, and maybe they're the same, or maybe they're close to the same, or maybe they're differing, and I'm good with that too.
And at one point, halfway through the season, they were 6-1, and they had lost by 3 in Fort Worth to TCU, and that was their only loss. And then after that, they lost 4 of their last 5, not including the bowl game, which they then went and lost to Luke Fickell's Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. So they dropped 5 of their last 6 to finish where they did. So started off 5-0, lost their first game to TCU, were 5-1, beat Texas 6-1, and then lost 48-0 to Kansas State. That's when the injuries really started to get off the rails. Lost by 21 to Kansas. Turned around and beat Iowa State by 6 in an ugly game. Lost by 15 to Oklahoma. Lost by 5 to West Virginia, and then lost by a touchdown to Wisconsin. So it was just a weird year, a totally weird year where the first half and the second half were complete opposites. And, obviously injuries played a huge part in that. And certainly the toughening of the schedule, too, because they weren't playing Arkansas Pine Bluff. And,
who else was their non-conference schedule?
Central Michigan and Arizona State.
Okay. So their season, did it not, Craig, then almost mirror in a way Baylor's? Baylor didn't start 6-1 by any means, but it was at least they put themselves in position and then just just slip right down the hill.
Yeah, I mean, they
at the
were
end.
halfway through the season still in the race, I guess, and then very quickly exited after four of those last 5 losses in conference play, and then obviously just cherry on top with the bowl game loss to Wisconsin.
All right, from John Boston.